Roll Tribe? I don't know. Florida State, they land yet another transfer from Alabama yesterday. A big addition at position of need with Sean Murphy, 6'2", 225-pound linebacker transfer. And then today, Florida State takes another one from Alabama. It's Javen Hilson. He's the number 33 ranked edge in the 2025 class. He just flipped his commitment from Bama to FSU. Now, in this video, we're going to find out if FSU is done taking from Alabama. A couple major developments at the high school level that we got to cover. And I got the great Michael Langston from Warchant joining the show. But first, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits page. FSU recruiting is always a wild ride. We got you covered. Hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's bring on Michael Langston from Warchant. Mike, we're going to talk the portal here in a minute, but there was big news last night. Jacksonville five-star wide receiver Jamie French announced that he's no longer committed to Alabama. And I got to ask, is he the next one in this Bama to FSU pipeline, or do the Noles have some competition?
Yeah, there's competition. I think there's going to be when you're talking about a five-star, but it was interesting the timing of it. It was right after Jamie French and Turmoil Jones got visit from Mike Norvell. The day Mike Norvell announced he's staying at FSU, he visited over there in Mandarin High School. Hilton Stubbs is another one they went over to see, a top safety. So, and then now this has happened. And Jamie's always said that FSU is the number one threat, and I get the feeling they're sitting in a good spot, Josh, as far as with Jamie. I think there's a good chance you'll see him on campus this weekend. I think Jones feels he's coming with him on the visit. So I think that this has been trending. If you follow the recruitment and you follow kind of the things Jamie has said throughout the process about FSU, about how he believes in what Mike Norvell's doing, the offense. There's certainly their ability to utilize playmakers like wide receiver and running back. I think that is really attractive. And then this Nick Saban thing just really opened up the door, and FSU kicked it down. And I think they're really in good spot where they sit with Jamie.
Yeah, so how much of a factor is Turmoil Jones? You mentioned him. He's the 2025 quarterback committed to FSU. He's teammates with French at Mandarin High School. He's French's quarterback. So how much of a factor is Jones in all of this?
I think he's a factor, but I don't think he's like the ultimate factor, because if he was, he wouldn't have committed to Alabama in the first place. He would have probably followed him, because remember, he was already committed to FSU, Jones was. So I do think they're close. I think the Nick Saban thing has kind of pushed it over the top, because I think it was kind of 50-50, even though he was saying he was Alabama. I think when I talked to Jones, he would tell me, like, look, man, I'm pretty much expecting this to happen eventually. So you kind of got some tea leaves that, part of that's just recruit speak, and then part of it's like, yeah, I'm around this guy. I know, how he feels about FSU. So I think this has been building for a while. And I think it just hit the climax of the top once, Nick decided to retire, because I think he's been thinking about this for a while. Now FSU really has a chance, if he does visit, like, kind of Jones is alluding to really, make a push and extend that lead of where they're at. Because I think they're the team to beat right now. I think they have everything Jamie's looking for. And his quarterbacks go in there. So you have to like kind of where they sit at this point.
It's a big statement for a talented in-state wide receiver that the Florida State Seminoles are after. Now let's talk a little transfer portal. And Florida State, this offseason, they are taking Built by Bama to the next level. Here's a look at the 5 transfers that they've gotten so far. Roydell Williams, Terrence Ferguson, Malik Benson, Earl Little Jr., Sean Murphy. Now, Mike, my question is FSU done? Because just the other day, we see Amari Niblack, a tight end from Alabama that is actually from the state of Florida, had some interest in Florida State coming out. Could Amari Niblack be a fit for the Seminoles as well? Could they add a 6th player from Alabama?
Yeah, it might. I mean, every time I think a position is done or they're done, getting guys, something happens. You alluded to it, like there's a lot of certainly ties to FSU with Niblack and Amari, and so I had not heard that the tight end was a position of need, but things change when you get a guy in there that that could really change your offense and help your offense, because you do have Morlot returning, but besides Morlot, there's not a solid contributor to that tight end
Yeah.
room. Even though it's a nice, it's getting nice. You have obviously the number one tight end in the country and Landon Thomas and all that stuff, but that's still a young prospect compared to a guy that could come in there. So that's definitely a name to watch, I think, Josh. That's the best way to word it. Obviously, I'll do a little more digging on that of interest level, but I do know that early on in the process for the portal, FSU was kind of kicking the tires to see what was out there at tight end. I think at one point, Michael Trigg was a guy that I thought could end up at FSU, but the fit wasn't there, and so they didn't pursue. But certainly that's a guy to keep a strong eye on, and we know FSU has no problem going in there and to Alabama and getting top players. I think a lot of these kids, if you focus on them, we're not going to talk about any of them, but just there's a lot of connections to each recruitment with FSU. So there is a personal connection to each one of these guys, I think, that they've added. But it's an incredible haul. 14. I don't think they're done. So it's they're certainly rolling now in the portal.
Yeah, and hey, Amari Niblack was teammates with Denard Span down there at Lakewood High School. So like you said, there's always a connection. So we'll just have to see what happens there. Now, just moments ago, just before you and I hopped on this video, Javen Hilson flipped his commitment from Alabama to FSU. Now, Hilson's a 6'4", 225-pound edge from Cocoa High School, number 3 ranked edge in America. Mike, how'd it go down? How'd they get the flip done?
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of I'm not really that surprised on this one, because if you followed his recruitment, Hilson was a FSU lean much of the process, and then he took one visit to Alabama. Obviously, there's a draw there that's different than any other place. Committed there. Obviously, then Nick Saban retired. But FSU had been chipping away on this one. But I go back to that time where he was saying consistently that FSU was his leader. So I think there was a connection there. And then the more he thought about it, and I think the Saban thing just kind of pushed it over the top, because he knew he fit into what FSU wants to do with their edge guys. They want really good speed rushers, and he certainly fits that. And I think he's been there a lot. He knows it's in state. That's a school he liked when he was growing up. So I think everything just clicked and fit for him as far as what the program is doing and what the program is ascending to.
All right. Well, I don't want to make it seem like we're picking on Alabama in this segment, but could there be another flip on the way? I asked that because Zion Grady is going to be in Tallahassee. Now, he committed to Alabama a couple weeks ago. He's the number 40 overall player in the country. So another elite prospect. And Auburn and Georgia are also involved. But what's going on with Florida State in Zion Grady?
Yeah, that's a guy they've really highly targeted from the start. He's visited FSU several times. He even worked out for the Seminole Showcase event, which it really raises my eyebrows when guys work out at that event. It usually means there's some serious interest. They're very engaged with the school. And I think before Alabama, I'd been hearing a lot of FSU stuff. Then as it went on, it's like, okay, it's still Alabama. They're going to be the team that gets them. But, once again, the Saban thing opens the door up. And I think his best relationships are with FSU. That's from people I talk to, that's where the best relationships for Zion is. And I think he understands what they do from a development standpoint. He's liking what they do and with Patrick Payton and these other guys. So he's been around to see what FSU's doing. So I think they're a major factor, and certainly one that they could flip. He's expected to visit FSU this weekend. I think that's a big development, because you're going into the first weekend, and that's the first place you go when you have places like Georgia and and other places that you could go, maybe Auburn. So I think it speaks highly of what he thinks of FSU, the fact that he's jumping right in there to go see FSU.
Yeah. All right. Well, it has been a wild offseason, Mike. It has been all the ups and downs, but right now it seems like things have stabilized. Mike Norvell gets that extension. They're hitting the recruiting trail. Things seem like they're looking up. Thank you for dropping by the Inside Scoop, talking some Florida State recruiting with us.
Yep. Anytime, Josh.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.